I absolutely love artistic swimming, and we haven't had a guest on this show in a couple of years since we talked to Kirsten Kanash about 2 years ago about her experiences in Tokyo. And I'm thrilled today to be joined by two of her teammates from Tokyo who, since Tokyo, have gone on to some great success, not only in the team in artistic swimming, but also in duets, and are basically on the plane for Paris. I'm just saying that right now, and we're so excited to learn more about their careers as well as the great sport of artistic swimming. It's a pleasure to welcome Kiera Gazzard and Rayna Buckle to the show. Both of you, welcome to Off the Podium. It's a pleasure to have you here on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you both here because, as I said to you off air, it's so nice to be able to have more than one person staring at me in a box on Zoom for once as well. So that's also an addition here, which I enjoy because artistic swimming, I enjoy. I say this when I spoke to Kirsten a couple of years ago. I learnt so much, and I think the one thing I learnt is that artistic swimming is the hardest Olympic sport. This, to me, I can't think of a single other sport at the Olympics that is harder than artistic swimming. Can we right now confirm you are doing the hardest sport at the Olympics?
Yeah, you got that right. I'll take it.
It really is that level because it is a sport that combines so many aspects of just everything. And even just before I hit record, you're telling me how much you're training right now. So, I mean, how do you sell the sport to somebody? When you say like, hi, I'm an artistic swimmer, what's the easiest way that you sell it to people? And do you try and tell them how actually difficult this sport is?
I don't think we try to convey how difficult it is. We usually just turn into saying that we're doing ballet in the water because no one really picks up what we mean when we say artistic swimming. We usually have to say synchronized swimming because the name changed, which is interesting.
Does that make it then unique on that something? Because I think we talked to Kristen about that, about the name change around and why they did it and everything, because I think it makes it sound a bit more fancier than, synchronized. No disrespect to calling synchronized swimming, because, I mean, you've obviously got solo events in synchronized swimming, which that kind of defeats the purpose of the name, doesn't it?
Yeah,
definitely.
Synchronized with the music, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good way of looking at it. I like that. But it is just that level of everything, though, that you're doing, because ballet, sure, but like you're doing this underwater, you're upside down, you're holding your breath, you're doing all these kind of things. I want to find out from both of you how, you discovered this talent to do that. I mean, I'll start with you, Rayna. How do you put yourself out there and do ballet in water? Let's just stick with that.
Yeah, so when I was about 9 years old, my younger sister at the time was interested in trying synchronized swimming. So as the older sister, my mom said, oh, you need to go to training with her and make sure that she's all right. She quit within a year and I quit since then.
Wow, geez. Does she ever look back now and think, oh, geez, my sister's an Olympian, I should have stuck with it?
No, I don't think so. She's glad she left when she did.
She just goes there and supports you instead. Kiera, what about yourself? How do you get involved in the sport?
I was originally doing swimming, and my swim coach at the time owned a synchro club and was a swimming coach. And after training, I just saw her coaching these girls that were like 16 or 17. And they were doing synchro, and I thought it was the most amazing thing that I've ever seen as an 8-year-old. And I thought that I had to be a lot older to start, but my coach kind of recruited me and was starting a 12 and under team, and I basically haven't stopped since then.
Wow. We always love hearing on this show about people getting recruited from other sports. But I have to say that getting poached from swimming to artistic swimming isn't a big of stretch as, say, all of our gymnasts being stolen by aerial skiing or things like that. So it's kind of a quick transition. I mean, Rayna, were you doing any other sports before sort of you went along and saw your sister give up after a year?
No, not really. I knew how to swim, but I wasn't training in swimming or anything. So kind of just picked it and ran with it.
Because you grew up in Singapore, of course. What's the synchro artistic swimming scene like in Singapore?
I think it's pretty similar to Australia, though Singapore's a lot smaller country, but there are multiple clubs and they also offer synchronized swimming in the schools. So that's how I actually got to it. I joined it as an extracurricular activity, which I think they don't have as much in Australia. So
no, they don't really do that in Australia.
And they have inter-school events, so you would compete against other schools in synchronized swimming, which is pretty cool, I guess.
That's fascinating. I was going to say, I don't ever remember going to a learn to swim class in school and then all of a sudden being going, would you like to try synchronized swimming? I don't think that was ever quite offered there. I mean, Kiera, once you sort of got into that, did you quickly fall in love with the sport when you gave it a try? And is that sort of why you stuck to it? And as you said, still doing it to this day?
Yeah, I definitely fell in love with it from an early age. And I kept doing swimming. I was doing water polo for a while at one point, and then it slowly turned into like 2 times a day of synchro, 3 times a day of synchro, 5 times a day. I mean, 5 times a week. It's like 5 times a week.
5 times a day.
And then,
Wow.
like, every day, twice a day, in another state. Yeah.
Which you moved states, did you not? You moved to Queensland to pursue that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when I made the national team, the senior national team when I was 15, and the year that happened, I moved to Queensland after World Champs, and basically with the goal of making the Olympic team for 2020. And then we centralised in Canberra, where I met Rayna when she became an Australian. No, she was always Australian. She became a Australian synchronized swimmer.
Change the colours of the uniform, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we moved back to Queensland together, and now we're in Perth. So we've been all over the shop.
Yeah.
You're just ticking off all the states basically as you're going around there. Because I mean, it's fascinating, Rayna, with you because Kiera, you're talking about being 15, joining the national senior team. You went to the World Championships as a 14-year-old for Singapore. Is that correct, Rayna? You were that young?
Did. Yeah.
What was that experience like? 14 years old and going to a World Championship.
Yeah, it was, I think, my favorite competition probably after Tokyo, because it was my first major competition, international competition representing Singapore at the time. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I think we swam pretty close after Russia, which was the best at the time. So that was also really, really scary to watch them in the call room, and China, all these like huge name countries, but you learn so much from it. So it's great.
I definitely want to touch on Russia, not for reasons that a lot of people talk about Russia today, more so on the fact that when I think of artistic synchronized swimming, I think of Russia and the dominance of them. I mean, you just touched on that. It's kind of a bit scary that you can see that. But is there a level of when you've got, say, a country like whether you're competing with Singapore or Australia, where we're obviously more of a developing nation in the sport, can you go to these athletes and say like, hey, can we get some help, or they give you, or they just so focused that they're kind of like, nah, you're just a competitor, go away?
They're pretty helpful. I think in Tokyo, actually, our coach went up to the Ukraine girls and asked for help for some of our lifts, because Ukraine does beautiful lifts and their technique's just amazing. So she asked one of the girls to look at us underwater and give us some corrections, and she was really happy to help. So I think it's always a really good, like everyone's really helpful and friendly at these competitions. You don't really need to be scared of the top teams.
Yeah, and the synchro world is so small, and like we've had so many world champs lately, like jam-packed together, and we all get to see each other at least once a year, like everyone across the world. So you get familiar with people.
Is there a team, though, that like I believe there's a bit of a rivalry with Egypt? So is there kind of like a bit of a level where like, sure, it's all nice and everything, but you deep down, you're just like, come on, like we're going to beat you today?
I mean, there's like wandering eyes in the training pool, like before we compete, like people come to each other's warm-ups and
You video each other secretly.
But we're all friendly. We're all friendly to each other.
Is Egypt Australia's biggest rival? Is that correct?
Yeah, at the Olympics definitely, and at World Champs, continentally, we're scored in the same range. So
why is that? Like, I don't often see that Australia and Egypt would be in that level in many other sports. Like, is it just because
literally just this sport?
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, like I mean, it's no disrespect to Egypt. It'd be great to be rivals with them in many sports, but I don't ever think of a traditional sporting rivalry between Australia and Egypt.
Yeah, I mean, New Zealand's in the mix as well, definitely.
We beat them all the time, right? Come on. They don't count. Let's be honest. We love you, New Zealand, if you're listening. But the other one that I found interesting in preparing for this interview is that you then competed, Rayna, in 2019 at the World Champs. But Kiera, you just missed out on those because you were injured, which I want to touch on that separately. But again, that would have been competing against each other. So did you two know each other back then, or you didn't meet until you came to compete for Australia, Rayna?
This is actually so funny because when we met each other properly, when she joined the Australian team, I was looking back at competitions we'd both been to, and we have photos of each other like in the background of photos that we took at competitions.
Wow.
Like sometimes we'd land for a competition at the airport at the same time as Singapore and like catch a bus to the hotel that was hosting for the competition in the same bus.
Yeah,
and like,
same bus.
but we never
Video
really
was
spoke
like-
to each other, but we definitely competed against each other at Japan Open.
Yeah, in 2019.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, so which is so funny.
So, but were you aware, Kiera, like was Australia aware that here's this competitor who's kind of half Aussie, we could like poach her, or you had no
that
idea?
She was half Australian.
Appeared one day.
No, there's
Wow.
one actually on the US team that's got a Australian citizenship, and most people know about that. But no, we had no idea about Rayna.
Wow, just flying under the radar. Because if I'm not mistaken, Rayna, Singapore beat Australia at the 2019 World Champs, right?
Yeah, they did.
Hey, so was there a technicality there as well?
We beat them in Budapest when I was on the
But
team.
I wasn't in the
But
Budapest
she
team.
wasn't
I
on the
wasn't in
team.
the Budapest.
I was going to say you were the difference,
Singapore-
Kiera, but then okay.
Singapore beat Australia in the Kazan World Championships when I was on the team.
I love this rivalry that happens because Kiera, you missed out on those World Championships because concussion. Now, again, when I think of sports where you get injuries, artistic swimming and concussion to me doesn't go hand in hand. How does this happen?
This is really funny because it's the most common injury in our sport.
Wow, really? Okay.
If you watch, I mean, I'm sure you watch Russia. It sounds like you've seen Russia.
I'm not even joking when I say this. Love the sport. Every time there's an Olympics, I'll send you our commentary with different Tokyo. It's embarrassing but brilliant at the same time.
When the girls throw one girl in the air from the water, when she does a flip and lands back down, there's a possibility that she can land on her teammates depending on how her flip went or how we pushed her.
Yeah.
Or if the person underneath is concentrating or in their right spot. Or if the pool's shallow, because sometimes we train in a shallow pool when we shouldn't be training in a shallow pool.
Really? So
Basically, if someone lands on your head with that impact, you get a concussion. And even the person who's flipping can get whiplash from land on the water. So, yeah.
So do either of you, like, is one of you the flipper or like, please correct me on my technical terms here.
Not,
Tall to
yeah.
be on the
We're
top
both
of
the
that.
tallest in the team, so definitely would not want to be flipping on.
Because in the duets, are you flipping each other in the duets, or is that more just about the technique in the water?
Yeah, there's lifts in the duet. She doesn't really exit the water.
Yeah, I don't get too high. So.
But I lift Rayna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so when you got that concussion into the lead up to those World Championships, was that just the case of you hitting the bottom of a shallow pool or like somebody, catching something? How did that work?
Yeah, I got kicked in the head during a training session. Actually wasn't a lift. It was just like a transition thing. Like someone did like a split kick onto my head.
Ouch.
And the problem at the time was I was under 18. So the Australian regulations for concussion is that you have to be you're not allowed to have symptoms for 2 weeks before you get back in the pool. Whereas when you're over 18 is 1 week. And the day that I could get back in the pool was like the last day of the comp in Korea. And it was our Olympic qualifier, but I just had to watch. But it was all very exciting anyway. And we had Olympic trials after that, so it didn't impact my spot on the team, which is good.
Because it basically comes down to what? Australia secures the quota at the World Champs, and then it comes down to picking the team is done internally at national selections. Is that sort of generally how it worked back then, and how it's going to work for Paris? I should jump ahead quickly for that as well.
Yeah.
So for this cycle, our qualifier for the quota spot, that was in Fukuoka last year in July. And we'll be having the Olympic selections around April of this year. So
Yeah,
Wow.
which is the funny thing about our sport, because mostly 12 girls go to world champs, like most teams bring 12 girls, and then there's only 8 spots for the Olympics, so everyone has to cut the team down, and some girls will qualify their country for the Olympics but not actually be able to go to the Olympics.
Is that the same case then with the duet versus the team? So, for example, because you two are the duet, you've qualified a quota, but you still have to qualify for that pairing, or do they take the pairing from the 8 girls who are in the team?
Since we swam the duet at the World Championships, they like to keep the duet together, but it's not a confirmed spot until basically, like you
But
said.
you're like 99% there then, basically, in saying that.
I want to be complacent.
The duet has to be in the team, in the 8.
Right.
So they can't be 8 girls and 2 girls going. That you have to be within the team.
So to be completely negative here, if you guys like fuck it up in April and don't make the team, then we're going to have a different duet versus, well, you qualified the duet, so you've automatically got a space on the team. Like, I mean, I don't want to just, put my brains out there to the national selection committee.
Someone could get a concussion,
Yeah, you never know.
Hopefully not you two. But I'm saying you two qualified the team, so I think, there should be a good shot there. Which, just on Tokyo, the disruption and everything that came with it, I believe, particularly was interesting when it came to the Australian team, because with the postponement, there were a couple of girls who I believe retired in that postponement period. And then for you, Rayna, you were added very last minute, I think weeks out from the game. So how did all of that play out and affect the team and everything along those lines? 'Cause that must have been a very interesting period.
Yeah, it was really hectic. I would say the 6 months leading up. So I joined the team in January when they had a trial for the number 9 spot, so the reserve.
Is this 2021 or 2020? Was this after the postponement?
2021.
Yeah.
So this is okay, right, gotcha.
Yeah, so this is, I trialed and I got the number 9 spot. And basically one of the swimmers got injured by a concussion as well. So she had been kind of in and out of the pool trying to recover from her concussion, but it was pretty bad. So at the end of the day, they swapped me. That's why the announcement came so late and last minute.
So basically, if the Olympics weren't postponed, you wouldn't have been on that plane to Tokyo.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. What about you, Kiera? Were you already sort of in that initial squad? Had you sort of had a place on that team? Had the Olympics gone ahead in 2020 as planned?
Yeah, we had the trials after the 2019 Worlds in January of 2020. And we announced the team, and it was like official on the Australian Olympic website that we were the 8 that were going. And then literally a week later, Australia got shut down because of COVID and the Olympics were postponed, and we all were sent home to quarantine. And then we came back in January 2021 and 2 girls had retired and we needed a new reserve. So
wow.
I was just coming back.
So had you, Rayna, in that period, you'd moved to Australia, I don't know if, say, because of your parents, you were already a citizen. How did all that process work then for you to switch countries, go from Singapore to represent Australia?
Yeah, so my dad's Australian. That's how I have my citizenship. And I moved to Australia in the start of 2020 for uni, and COVID hit. So I kind of wasn't doing anything. I went back to Singapore to be with my family during COVID. But in December of 2020, one of the clubs, so I was synchronized swimming recreationally, just in one of the clubs in Sydney. And one of the head people told me about a trial opportunity in January and was like, oh, you should go and just try out if you want to, see how it goes. And I was like, I guess I will.
That is one of the best answers ever, because basically I wasn't really doing anything. Oh, maybe I'll go to a trial. What's it for? The Olympics? Oh, I guess I'm not doing anything in July. That sounds okay. And then there you are, fast forward 8 months later, an Olympian. That's crazy.
Yeah, actually, because I had to quarantine going from Sydney into Canberra because of the lockdown and stuff. So I remember being in quarantine in this little studio apartment, and I learned the routine that I would have to do for the trials on the bed. I was upside down with kicking my legs in the air trying to learn the routine.
She was quarantined over New Year's.
Yeah.
Over New Year's, wow. So you're not out getting drunk and partying. You're on a bed kicking your feet and doing routines.
I ordered myself some Dominoes. myself.
I have so many.
Put in a group for trials, so I had to swim next to her while
And is this basically when you two had like only sort of met recently? Around? Wow. I mean, I was going to like so many images of just what you can do to like do that. Like, can you have Zoom training, like where you're all laying on a bed and going like, this is like, because I mean, again, sports that I think you can Zoom train, not one I pictured until you just mentioned that that's what you can do.
We got these like stands, they're like headstand stands that you hold like this and you put head in and you can just like upside down. Around.
Wow. This is why I love getting people on from sports like this, because you learn so many things. And again, adding to why I think this is the hardest Olympic sport, because it is such a, I mean, outside of being in the pool and being in tune with each other, I mean, I've got to imagine that be it a duet or a team, you've got to bond as a team in order to be able to work yourselves into those positions where you can be synchronized, essentially. I mean, sort of, what are you doing outside of the pool or outside of the bed, it seems, to kind of help when it comes to that level of synchronicity?
I mean, we all live together, basically.
All of you? Wow, okay.
In Canberra, we live together, and 8 girls at the moment in Perth, we all live together.
Wow. So I guess that helps.
Yeah.
If you like each other particularly. If you don't, then, you know, maybe that's the thing. So, I mean, in all seriousness, though, like, are you then, you know, something as simple as you've got a night off, let's watch a movie, or let's, like, I don't know, go bowling, or I have no idea, whatever you're doing, like things like that, as much as it might sound recreational, I'm sure that that's helping with the bonding so that you can, I guess, all know each other and work together so well when it comes to competing.
Yeah, I think we spend a lot of time with each other even outside the pool. So we have long training hours, but we get home and we still have dinner together, or on a Saturday night, like we all go watch a movie together. So it's like we don't really we kind of get sick of each other, but
who do you get sick of the most? This is where we ask that question right now. So if your teammates watch this, who's like the one out there that if they did get concussion, I'm joking, but nobody get concussion, please. We're sick of people getting concussion. It's a dangerous sport. But I mean, like when then it comes to in the pool, let's say, for example, the pair of you, when it comes to the duet, how do you come up with a routine? What's sort of the logistics around it? Is that yourselves, coaches, where you're at in training? I mean, take us through a basic idea of coming up for a routine for a competition.
I mean, you pick the music.
Yes, important.
Usually the music has a theme.
Yeah.
Okay.
So step 1, and then you kind of start choreographing. Usually, depending on what kind of coach you have, we have a very creative coach who has a vision most of the time, and she usually gives you what she wants you to do, and then if you can do it, you question. And then usually we contribute and
give her ideas.
Yeah, make up some stuff.
Along. Yeah.
And then now the rules have changed for synchro, so difficulty is really, really important. So we kind of frame a lot of our routines around how difficult they are. So we kind of have to design it and calculate it that way now.
In terms of the themes, like I think I remember
so many themes.
Well, this is I remember Kirsten and I talking about Star Wars a few years ago, just around sort of themes and that you can have. I mean, is it competition dependent on themes? I can imagine the Olympics are very strict. I mean, or is it a case of free will? I can do Star Wars. I can do some Taylor Swift. Like, what is it kind of open to when it comes to those themes?
It is mostly
usually free will.
Yeah,
right.
Like a more fast-paced music just because it helps you to move faster so you can add more in. But maybe the solos would choose a slower song because they're by themselves and they can express themselves more. So it depends on the event as well. So for our duet, we're doing the Charlie's Angels soundtrack. So it's
nice.
Kind of like spy themed, but
yeah.
Okay. So kind of that that sort of like
exactly.
right. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm a bit of a fanboy of the Charlie's Angels. I think that's great. So I like that. And so like obviously then when it comes to the Olympics, are they just open? You can bring that in there, or are there a little bit more of a stricter rules around what you can and can't have at the Olympic Games?
Sometimes the nations Olympic committees approve themes like Australia. We did a Australia themed, like the Rio team did an Australia theme, and I think that they wanted to incorporate Aboriginal choreography, and they worked with an elder for that, so they had to approve that in their costumes. So it depends on your Olympic committee as well.
Which always just adds a little bit of extra element to it, makes it a bit more fascinating. Which I want to touch on Tokyo, just the experiences and everything. Obviously, a very unique Olympics, but I mean, outside of the competition side of things, how did both of you find things like village life? You know, pin trading. I believe you got to do at least the closing ceremony. Just, I mean, everything that came with those Olympic experiences.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I'm sure most people would have told you that we had to do a COVID test daily. Would wake up in the morning and they would give you this little tube to spit in to a
That's
line.
a bonding experience.
Yeah.
Everyone's standing in circles,
Just
spitting
spitting
in
And
a
spit.
every
Yep.
morning. Yeah.
Wow.
Having to wear masks everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was really hot as well.
It was so hot in Japan. But the most memorable thing was the dining hall, definitely.
Yeah.
Take us through. I always love hearing stories in dining halls. Like, I mean, give us some stories from going in there and bumping shoulders with the world's elite athletes.
I mean, it's so funny seeing some of the weightlifters and stuff. They have like piles of pasta and all these carbs because they're ready to go. And then there were plastic screens between everyone for COVID.
Every single seat. And we would wipe it down.
Yeah, you had to wipe it
before
before you sit down. And
you had to wear gloves when you were getting your food.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Which, of course, no McDonald's, which is just, I think you were ripped off because, you know, we haven't had them in the last few things. Is it a case of like you saying you see the weightlifters, but do you try and play guess the sport? Like, okay, weightlifter, or, you know, like, oh, they're a gymnast or a modern pentathlete. Like, and do you often get to a point where you just can't choose? You go up to them like, excuse me, what sport do you compete in?
You can kind of just like squint at their accreditation and see what's on
smart.
it if I was really curious.
Very smart. I like that idea. And again, a unique Olympics. So obviously not quite what some of the previous Olympics would have been like, but are you spotting like big names? Like, are you all of a sudden like going like, oh, there's, you know, Novak Djokovic, or, you know, there's Simone Biles or something like that? Like, are you kind of trying to do that? And if so, who did you see?
I mean, a lot of people had to leave straight after their events, so they weren't really floating around as much as I assume a normal Olympics. But we're lucky in that Australia is one of the best teams in the world, so you kind of you're just sitting in the Australian common room and like Ash Barty walks in, you're like, oh my God, and like they're just walking in with their medals, and I mean, it's a great building to be in if that's the experience.
Yeah.
And a few medals, of course, won by Australia during those Olympics. So I'm sure there were plenty to spot. And the barista as well. Did you just
the barista deserved a gold medal?
Yeah,
Honestly.
that was the best part of the building.
Yeah.
Which I've heard on the grapevine that they will be back for Paris. So
That's great.
Fantastic.
that just makes you want to qualify even more. You're like, well, I'm going to try harder to make the Olympics again because I want that coffee again. Because I heard that there were other Olympic teams trying to get into Australia to get the coffee because I don't believe other Olympic teams have a barista, right?
Yeah.
I love that. That's just the beauty of the Olympics and the beauty of Australia kind of going from that. But then, I mean, the competition side of things itself, just, I mean, you know, as a team perspective, how do you feel you went? What did you take out of that opportunity and kind of to drive you towards the success that we're seeing, obviously Australia have in artistic swimming since those Olympics?
I think it was my first competition with Australia. So I think it was a great way
Decent way to start.
Yeah. So I was really happy with our swims.
If you're watching the video right now for our audio listeners, I'm just loving the sun behind both of them right now. It's kind of like shining and kind of like in there. Sort of Kiera's having to block that as well. Kiera, what did you sort of take out of it? Obviously, you've been in the team for a little bit there, but I mean, kind of yourself, those Olympic experiences and what you've taken that since?
I mean, it was super exciting that we got to compete and be there at all. firstly. Like, one of the teams got COVID while we were there, so the Greece team was disqualified, and we were all training together. We thought that we were all going to have COVID at some point, or maybe that we would get a medal because
everyone else got COVID. Australia's straight to the top.
There's a slight positive if all of a sudden, like 7 other teams get COVID.
Yeah. And because of COVID, we hadn't competed all year. I'd never competed with Rayna before. We had a brand new coach that had only come to Australia for like 4 months before
in April.
Yeah, Lolly, an Italian coach who we choreographed a new routine with that we'd never done before. So everything was brand new and super exciting because it was completely different to what I thought it was going to be a year ago. The team was different, the coach was different, the choreography was different. And I think it was an amazing experience. And despite all of the adversity that was going on in the world and within the team, I mean, we had injuries. Like when the Olympics were cancelled, we had someone with a broken foot and like concussion, and the team was all over the place. So like it didn't look like it was going to be a good run 2020. So
I just to keep bringing up concussion, but like this, like if we have to like rank the sports based on highest ratio of injuries to concussion, you know, you'd be thinking of like, I don't know, Australian football, rugby, like all these other sports. But I mean, artistic swimming, by the sounds of things, is up there. I mean, this sounds like you're always getting knocked out.
Our team for Tokyo, we haven't had too many this cycle. We've had one, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we've had one this cycle.
Yeah.
So far,
no. Touch wood, right? We don't want that coming through there. But I mean, touching on the fact that like this team, the way it's sort of put together through retirements and injuries and everything. Obviously, Rayna, you're coming in last minute. How much lead up time then are you getting to train together? Like, is it a case of you arrive in Tokyo? Hey, you compete in 5 days. Jump in the pool. Let's do this. We've been doing this on Zoom. It should work now. I mean, how much time do you sort of get to be able to get that routine ready to go for competition day?
I think I started training in the team from February. So we had a decent 6-month lead up, which I think is kind of the minimum for the Olympics.
Yeah, we had our Italian coach over Zoom before she came to Australia.
That's so, and in terms of when you're in the pool, like, do you just position a computer next to like the pool so she can see you, or like? I mean,
we actually have a TV next to the pool every day that we do video review on. So it's just set up on a phone. We do Zoom training with a coach from the US every so often.
Yeah.
Now as well. So
I'm just fascinated that this is a Zoom training sport. I really am. Like that has just blown my mind. And I mean, just on that sort of when it comes to watching back footage, particularly when you're working together in a duet, is it a case of like, okay, we've done this killer routine, you both get out of the pool, you're like, yeah, I'm on it. But then like Kiera, you're maybe watching going like, Rayna, you were a bit off on that section, and you're like, no, I'm not. And then you have a fight. Like, is it a case of that you know each other that well that you can kind of be critical, that you kind of trying to work out who may be off on a certain point?
I mean, Rayna can just look at me and I know what's wrong.
Sometimes you pause the video and you kind of don't really say anything. You just go. And then
you just count, and then you pause the video on the count it's supposed to be, and you can basically see what.
Or if you make a really big mistake as you're watching the video, you kind of go, "Oh, sorry."
But is that a case in that, like, if you both get out of the pool, you're in the kiss and cry, you're like, "Hi, mum, hi, dad," all that sort of stuff. You're both going like, "Shit, yeah, we nailed it." Then you see the score and you're like, "Oh, that's not what I was thinking of." And then you watch the footage back and you're like, "Rayna, it was you. Like, you cost us that today." Is it a case of that?
Yeah, so with the new rules, we have this thing called base mark, which is a penalty that's applied to a figure, which is a leg action. And if you don't do the difficulty that you declared, so if you declared a spin 360, but you missed out on 45 degrees, your hips didn't reach the wall at the end, the whole figure gets penalized. So you lose a lot of points based on that. So at the recent World Championships in Doha, I actually hit base mark on one of our figures. It was me.
But I hit one in Japan. It's okay.
It's
all right,
even.
so balance out there.
No, there won't be any.
Yeah, no more.
No more. All right, good. We're working. And how do you overcome that then? So like, I mean, is that a case of your coach will say like, okay, you're doing this on the pool on Monday. You know, you're practicing that spin 5 more times to sort of make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, basically you just have to, it's a repetition sport a lot of the time. You just have to do it until it's muscle memory. Because when you get in the pool for a competition, you got all the adrenaline, and I mean, you're only out there for 2 or 3 minutes. It happens really fast. And you don't have goggles on, so sometimes you can't even see the wall that you're supposed to hit.
Which
And
is
I
that?
wear glasses.
Yeah, and Rayna's blind. So.
Well, I mean, it's actually interesting. So, like, are you wearing contacts, or are they not helpful in the water? Or
I don't wear contacts. Some people do. It actually does help keep the water out of your eye, but my contacts like to swim around in my eye, which makes it harder to swim because when I come up, I can't see anything because my contacts make like half on my pupil, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow. So you could be like gold medalist, and everyone's celebrating. You're going like, what? Where did we finish? What? Like,
I don't even see the score when we compete.
Every time the scores come out, I'm like, what do we get?
where do we finish? Which is that? I mean, it's a question I want to ask, and I probably the number one question you get asked by most people who know nothing about the sport is like, how are you aware of each other in the water? How are you able to kind of know where each other's at?
Well, you can open your eyes in the water and see the blobs of.
I mean, you have to line up with people. In team, we have these things called patterns. So you're transitioning through different patterns, like a line or a circle or like a 2-2-2. So you're like, I need to line up with Rayna in this pattern, and I'm across from Kirsten in this circle, like you know. And so it's harder when we compete because we're all wearing the same thing, but sometimes when we're in training, we're wearing different training suits, so you're like, oh, I'm going for the
red suit.
I guess that kind of helps out there, which I mean, and I guess that's a tactic then for a team where certain people will be put in certain positions based on skill, size, what their role is in the team, etc.
Yeah. So for the tech team, you would put the people who are, if someone's better at a certain element, you would put them at the front of the pattern so that the judges would look mostly at them. So the coach has to think a lot about where she wants certain people and how to change the pattern to get a person to the front of the pattern, or sometimes hide a person in the middle of the pattern.
If they're not very good, or
Take away.
they're the one who's got to get that quarter point of a spin off. So as long as they're hidden, they won't get seen, or basically along those lines. And does that work then, say in the duet? Obviously, there's only two of you. Like, I mean, positioning is important based on your routine again.
Not in the duet.
It's kind of how close we get to each other. It's better if we're closer, but sometimes we hit each other and then we try to swim away from each other. We're kind of swimming in and out, and then we get yelled at.
Yeah, coach likes to go, I could place an elephant between the both of you, so far apart.
Wow. And I'm guessing that's judged, though. So I'm guessing in competition, the spacing between you is an element of what you're being judged on?
Yeah, it's part of the execution.
Yeah, execution.
Right. Okay. Interesting. I was actually reading, the Australian Olympic Committee did a great sort of 10 facts about artistic swimming in the lead up to Tokyo. And one thing that I love reading here, they've got the question, how does an artistic swimmer's makeup and hair stay in place? Not a question that I would generally ask myself, honestly. But I love the way that they've written this. Talking about the makeup, so you can see the expressions on your faces. But in addition, you use Knox gelatin in your hair so that it stays in place during your performance. Now, I'm sorry, that sounds completely odd and weird and gross that you are putting like gelatin in your hair. What is this stuff? And like how, I'm guessing it works because I never see anybody's hair move in this sport.
It definitely works.
Yeah.
It definitely works.
It's exactly what you think it is. It's gelatin. You can use it in baking. We try to get very, there's many different types of gelatin.
Yeah, there's many different types.
You have to get the expensive one because it dissolves well. And you have to put it in boiling water and like sweep it onto your hair. And it takes forever to get out.
Well, but that sounds like, how long does that take in preparation? Like you're in Tokyo before you were going out to compete. How long is that getting this gelatin in your hair? That doesn't sound productive when you're in the mindset that you're about to compete in the freaking Olympics and I've got to put some gelatin in my hair.
We definitely put aside an hour at least for the whole team to do their hair and makeup. And we have to pin like headpieces into each other's hair so we all match. And then we warm up and then we get back out and do a touch up. And then we probably do another warm up before the call room and then we compete. So
Now, I mean, okay, let's a two-pronged question. Is this necessary? Like, I mean, is this like for your benefit, or like, is this something that is outdated? That this is just like ridiculous? It's archaic. Like, and we need to scrap it. Like, I mean, what can we do? Because this doesn't sound productive. I'm telling you now. I feel there's a way around this.
I mean, I really don't think there's anything else that could keep our hair together.
Yeah. Some teams wear a cap, rarely. It's kind of depending on the theme of the routine.
Right.
So our coach Paula, she did a routine for Spain in the London 2012 Olympics, and they wore a mirrored cap with little reflective pieces on
Because
it.
they were fish, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
were
that
like
was the
Of course.
theme.
themed thing.
But that doesn't happen very often. Every other team uses gel. And I think it's kind of the best thing to swim with because you don't feel it. If you did a bad job doing your hair, then it's
You definitely
terrible.
feel it if you did
And
a
you can
bad
see
job.
it. You can see someone's like bun bobbing around. But if you did a good job, it's very easy to swim in it.
Do you get penalised? Like if the hair comes out? Because I know in gymnastics, right, there are certain elements that if like a piece of like something gets revealed, you can get deducted points. Is that the same in artistic swimming?
I mean, it's not official, but I definitely think they take that into account because it's distracting
Right.
from what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, crazy. Because I know obviously men are now, I mean, men have always competed in the sport. I'm not saying they're only being allowed in now, but for the Olympics, for example, we're about to see men can be included. But like, I don't imagine like men are under the same scrutiny. I mean, and they should be. Like, if you're allowing men into this sport, they should be wearing makeup and they should be having freaking, gelatin in their hair, right? Like, I mean, if it's an equality sport, like we want to have that included for them as well, right?
I think that they've been putting gel in.
Some of them,
Some of
yeah.
them, although
Some
All right,
of them
well, good.
Tiny ponytails.
They're
Just
just
making sure. I want it to be equal. Okay, I want to be. And on that, like, do we have many male artistic swimmers in Australia at all?
There is one male. He's not training at the moment. He's from Perth. He went to the 2019 Worlds and did a mixed duet with a 2016 Olympian, Danielle. There's a few young boys. There's a young boy in the Gold Coast.
I
I'm
think
not really.
each club has one.
Yeah,
or two
I think there's
boys.
and there's
Okay.
some masters men, some dads.
Now, I don't know if you're looking at me like that, Kiera, because you're calling me old when I was about to ask my next question. But I mean,
they're doing synchro.
well, I was going to ask that because, like, I mean, like I'm 37. I mean, I don't know what the peak age is for artistic swimmers. I mean, Bill May's in his 40s and he's about to make the Olympics for the US. So I'm saying I've got time. I could create history as Australia's first male Olympic artistic swimmer.
You definitely have time.
Brisbane's 8 years away. I'm sure, I might take a bit longer than 8 years, but I'm always down for a challenge. You both touched on before about the number of world championships we've had. Obviously, you've had 2 basically in the space of 12 months, but the performances have been obviously fantastic in Doha earlier this year and then in Fukuoka last year. I mean, take us through those experiences, obviously the performance levels to reach what you're at. I mean, and must add some confidence in the lead up to Paris where you will be on the team, but obviously we will have a team in duets and the team sections for Australia, of course, this year.
Yeah, Fukuoka was the first time that Australia made it to the finals since I can't
I think
remember.
it was 20 years.
Something like 20
Yeah.
years. So it's been a while and it was really exciting. It was all of our first time swimming in a finals at the World Championships. So that was a lot attributed to having our coach here with us, Paula, who came from Spain. And that's also because of a lot of the funding that we've received from Hancock Prospecting. So it's a lot
Yeah,
of
we
snags.
all relocated to Perth to do a centralized program, which hasn't really happened this far ahead of the Olympics before.
Great.
Definitely not a World Championships. And just the experience of seeing Australia in the finals call list from the stands was like, I'll never forget that
Yeah.
when we realized we actually made the finals for the first time.
Yeah. And in Doha, when we got 8th in the tech team, seeing Australia on the first screen when they show the ranking at the end, we were like, we're on the first page.
Yeah, like the top 8 on the on the
Because
list.
it's much more competitive at a World Championships, right, isn't there? Because there's more teams and obviously you've got all the specifics. So as you said, you got like tech, you got freestyle, whereas in Olympics, we've just got like team, right? It's all combined. So to get 8th in a World Championships in one discipline is a very big deal given how competitive it is compared to the Olympics.
Yeah, Worlds is arguably a bigger comp for our sport than the Olympics, just because there's like 30 or 40 countries in an event rather than 10 countries. So
it comes that way. And then obviously then for yourself in the duet to kind of have the performance that you both had there as well. I mean, how does that make you both feel leading up to the Olympic year when you will be in Paris working as a team, of course?
I mean, we did our Charlie's Angels duet for the first time because it was a brand new routine, which was one of my favorite swims in Doha.
Yeah.
Same. It was really good. It was the first one we did. And it was really good to practice that and see the other duets that are going to be at the Olympics this year because, I mean, Worlds never happens the same year as the Olympics. So it was a really good practice run and we took a lot from that comp and our training. We saw that base mark. We're repeating that over and over again.
Because I was going to ask that because I know there was a lot of, I guess, criticisms on, say, the swimming side of things that you've got a world championship and obviously Australia didn't send many of our, gold medal prospects for the swimming side of things. But for artistic swimming, for diving, for all these other disciplines in the aquatics world championships, it seemed to be a benefit. So did you two feel it was a benefit to have two world championships so close to each other and particularly in an Olympic year?
Definitely. I feel like go to as many competitions as you can because it increases your comp experience by a lot and you learn something new from every competition. And I feel with the new rules as well, during training, sometimes you get really relaxed on the base marks and the penalties because you're not really having any consequences when you don't reach the wall other than maybe your coach would be yelling at you. But at a competition, it's real. Like if you mess up, everyone knows.
Yeah, everyone knows at that comp. There's like a video review that you see. And
the tech controllers would be standing up and watching a screen and you're like, oh, I messed up.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you were telling me about your crazy training regime at the moment. Give us a bit of an overview of what you were telling me off air about how many days a week are you currently training there in beautiful sunny Perth?
We train 6 days a week, so we have Sundays off, and we are training at 7:30 and end around 4 because we have some extra training for duet.
Wow.
But out of the 6, we have 2 days, which go from 7 till 1.
Yep. And half an hour lunch break.
Half an hour, which, I mean, is that even time to get lunch? I mean, do you have to have it prepared, like get out of the water, wring down a sandwich and then jump back straight in the pool?
Kind of
basically what it is. You're still wet from the morning.
Yeah, we don't even change swimsuits. We just stay in our wetsuit and just eat lunch.
No time to reapply the gelatin, basically. And hopefully there's no gelatin in your sandwich, essentially. Because I was going to ask that, actually. So, like, when it comes to, say, you two training for the duet, are you having to do specific training outside of what you're doing within the team?
Yeah, there's we have different sessions. So we'll do a tech team morning session and then a free team afternoon session. And then the team will get out and we'll do like a tech duet session. It's like all the sessions run based on a routine at the moment in comp season. Like pre-comp is more like skills and endurance. We do a bit of swimming sometimes, but yeah, that's basically
that you know how to swim as long as you're not drowning, right? Like, I mean, that part, like, oh, sure, I'll just do a couple of laps to make sure that I'm okay. We're obviously recording this at the beginning of March. In terms of are there competitions between now and Paris, or is it just your training and then there will be an Australian selection sort of competition that will help get you onto that team for Paris?
We have 2 competitions leading up to Paris. So we have one in Beijing, which is at the end of this month. And then we have the selections. And then we have a competition in Paris at the pool, I think.
Like the warm-up event,
Yeah, it's supposed to be at the Olympic Stadium, I think.
Wow. So have you both of you been to Paris before? So have you seen where it's going to be? Because, I mean, obviously these venues are just absolutely, beyond amazing what they're going to have in Paris later this year.
Yeah, I've never been to Paris.
I've been to Paris twice, once for a competition and once just with my family. So
Wow. So I mean, Kiera, perfect opportunity to go to Paris for the first time, right? Olympic Games, decent excuse.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not? Just lock it in. What are you doing in July? Going to the Olympics, basically. In terms of performance for the team, based on coming off the back of some great results at the World Championships. Now, I did my research. I'm glad to say I did my research. Obviously, Australia's best performance in the team was 7th in Athens back in 2004. And for the duet, we had 13th from Danella Burridge and Lisa Steens in 1984, and then Lisa and Semen Roloff. Sorry for mispronouncing that. I'm probably butchering them completely. In 1988. But are there targets that are set? Is it a case of like, let's try and match that in the teams and let's aim for beating the 13th and that? Or is it sort of that gets addressed once the team is in place and you potentially know what you are capable of in Paris?
Well, the rules have changed a lot. As we've said, there's base marks now. So there's a huge on the day kind of element to it, where the rankings have changed significantly just because of those base marks or hitting the wall. And we're really working on our difficulty, and some teams have been hiding their difficulty at competitions for the Olympics. So we really don't know how that's going to play out, but we definitely always want to beat Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt, come on. Bring down Egypt, right? You know, that's all we want. But I mean, like, what would it mean, do you think, that, say, for example, if Australia was to get an 8th, a 7th, like in the team, like, because I mean, you know, obviously we'd like to aim high and say, let's get a medal. But I mean, if you're being realistic, like I'm assuming that something like getting a matching that performance from Athens or even going to like a 6th or something like that, if that was possible, would be such a big deal for the sport in Australia.
Yeah, I think definitely trying to aim to climb up the ranks. Maybe not jumping to a medal yet, but slowly, and then hopefully by Brisbane, there's more of a chance to maybe get high.
Hey, I like
definitely set that trend up, because we're now centralized, and the plan is to be centralized from now on. And there's so many other countries that have been doing this for 10 years. They set that trend 10 years ago. So we're quite behind on that. And you can already see that we've improved from the 2 years that we've been centralized. So it's just about playing catch up at the moment.
It's all that important nature, though. Like, obviously, we've got an Olympics now. There's another Olympics in 4 years. But I guess every sport right now is keeping that eye on Brisbane in 8 years' time. Because, I mean, probably I don't think either of you were born during Sydney. But obviously, when it came to the lead up to that and everything that focused, you were at least born, Rayna?
I was born in August of 2000, so
you were born a month before the Olympics. Okay, good. I'm not that old. But like, obviously there was that big sort of influx and everything that came in the lead up to Sydney, that we can now have that uniqueness that we've got to basically in most people's lifetimes. Obviously, Kiera, you weren't born yet. My point is, Brisbane, there's an eye on it, and that obviously this is what steps to like centralising and everything is hopeful, so that by Brisbane, a medal could be potentially something that is in the realms of a possibility.
Yeah, I feel like, especially in our sport, artistic swimming, it takes a lot of time to change the judges' perception of our country.
Yeah, you walk on and it's like,
oh, this is Australia.
And you're announced like Australia, the team Australia. And they kind of,
judge.
I would say that it's like they see Australia and Egypt and they're like comparing us to each other. And then they'd be like China and Russia, and they're comparing them to each other and like dropping their scores based on that. So you have to beat your range to jump a range.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you have to be a few steps above it for the judges to recognize that.
Yeah. It has to be outrageously better.
The two things I'm taking from that, and one of these, please don't comment on it because I don't want you to get disqualified from your sport. The first one is we've got 8 years to get to that level so that we can be taken seriously. Otherwise, we need to put some good judges that we can bribe in Brisbane, that we can make sure that we get a medal. Again, do not comment on that.
We need you to join the team. Right?
You are well. I'm glad. I will take that invitation on board, and I will gladly do that. But I mean, it's obviously great that those steps are being put in place, and that we can see that sort of moving forward. And can we also bring back the solo event at the Olympics? Because this used to be an Olympic. They used to have the solo event at the Olympics, but I think since like Barcelona, we've only had the duets and the teams. I want to see solo artistic swimming back at the Olympics, because to me, that is fun to watch. Can we put out a petition to get that back for Brisbane in 2032?
Maybe. I mean, now with the name change, it does make sense to have the solo event in artistic swimming. It's not.
Yeah, it didn't make sense solo synchronized swimming, did it? But because I read, Kiera, if I'm not mistaken, that you pushed for a goal to become Australia's first ever solo representative at a Junior World Championships, which you achieved. So obviously you dabbled in solo. I don't know, Rayna, if you did as well. But like, I mean, is it something that a lot of artistic swimmers will still do, the solo, or is it very niche because that's not an Olympic event anymore?
I mean, growing up, depending on the size of your club, there's usually a lot of solos in clubs. And because my club was small in Sydney, I was always doing a solo because I didn't match the girls that did duet because I was too tall.
Wow.
And then I kind of just wanted that to be my goal because I was working on that most of the time. And I think that it would be a good thing to add because some girls are suited more to solo. It's a style that you kind of have. And some girls struggle to be in team if they're more of a soloist. And especially if you don't grow up doing teams, it's hard to be compact with 8 people kicking you when you used to just like do whatever.
Hey, no concussion in solo, right? Unless the pool's
definitely not. It could be a fun thing. We have a soloist. Not really a soloist anymore. We definitely have a soloist on our team that would benefit from that. So yeah.
They'd appreciate that being back in the Olympics. And plus, and if you two just got too pissed off at each other because you weren't getting those turns correct, then you can just be like, fuck it, I'm going off solo. Back to Brisbane.
We can finally compete against each other. We both do solo.
And then we can work out just because one of you was missing from one event and the other, then who really is the best of it? Who would beat each other in a solo right now? Who do you think would win between the pair of you in a solo event?
She would win.
No.
Look at that. Just agree with it, Kiera. You know she's right. Let's be honest. You don't have to be humble all the time. We'd like to wrap up with a set of fun, get to know you style questions. But before I do, I want to introduce you to maybe the newest member of the team, besides myself. This is our mascot on Off the Podium. This is Chairy. Now, Chairy's a bit damaged. Chairy's got a bit of a bung leg, but that's not a bandage on his head, so he doesn't have concussion. I'd like to, two things. First of all, how do you think Chairy would go in artistic swimming? And if it's crap, do you think that he would be good inspiration for you to take on board as a team mascot come the Olympics this year?
I think Chairy would be good for the lifts.
Really good. He would be really flexible. He looks like he could do splits all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that leg flexibility, right? Splits. This is probably hard to do with only 2 hands and 4 legs, but I think that works.
Definitely.
Great. Good form.
Exactly. And he's already got a medal. So, he's
an experienced sportsman.
he's a multi,
definitely, right?
and half Canadian. And now we know how they are in artistic swimming, right? So
we have a Canadian we have a Rayna situation with a Canadian this cycle.
Wow. Okay.
There's always one.
Kirsten's from Canada, right? Well. So, there's always bloody Canadians.
Yeah.
but okay, can we what about inspiration? If you were to have a Chairy in your pocket come Paris, do you think that when you're getting out of the pool going, suck it Egypt, that it's all down to Chairy?
Yeah,
definitely. I really like the orange. I like the
orange is her favorite color.
Hey, there you go. Perfect. Fitting even well. Absolutely fantastic. See, I bet you Egypt don't have a chair, do they?
No, I don't think so.
It's the winning formula right there. Okay, thanks, Chairy. We're ticking that off the boxes. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Set of get to know yourself questions. As always, speaking of Canada, this is based on a Team Canada questionnaire they gave their athletes ahead of both Rio and Pyeongchang. There is always the option if either of you wish to draw, you can send in some drawings after this interview and we can post them on our social media. Again, I'm not sure how your drawing skills are, but if you want to, you can draw a picture of yourselves, draw a picture of each other. You can draw a picture of, this one's a new one, a place from your hometown or province, so hometown or state. I've never seen that one before in this questionnaire. So how are your drawing skills? Are you drawers at all or don't give a shit?
No. Really?
Okay, that's fine.
I don't mind drawing.
Oh, well, if you want to, Kiera, by all means, please.
I don't know if I want to, but
it's completely fine. It's entirely up to you. Feel how you've been training 6 days a week. You're probably the last thing on your mind. But anyway, we always put that out there. We'll start off with, for both of you, your favorite Olympic moment is?
Ooh, I think mine would be at the closing ceremony when we were all lying on the grass together in a team and just people taking photos. I thought it was such a top of the mountain moment. It's I hiked all the way and I'm here now.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Mine would be the day we all finished competing. It was pouring down rain. And we were just walking around the village at night. We climbed this might be illegal because of COVID, but we climbed the rings, the huge statue of rings, and it was pouring down rain. And we just kind of were having a main character
Yeah.
moment that
All
night.
Wow.
singing.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? You remove you from the Tokyo Olympics? That was 3 years ago. You're fine. You got to celebrate the moment, right? I love that. I love that. As a kid, your favorite sports team was?
I don't know.
I mean, for me, like not necessarily a sport. I mean, I like AFL in Australia.
Who's your team? Who's your team?
Sydney Swans.
Okay, all right then. I'm a Carlton supporter, but
I
hey,
definitely was like a swimming fan though. Like Michael Phelps, was, like my idol, because my mum's American, so she kind of always sat me down and made me watch the Olympics and go for the US, even though my dad was like.
I was going to say, how does that work at an Olymp? Like swimming's the one sport where it would suck to have an American and an Australian parent. Like, who do you go for?
I know, especially in the relays, it's like, who's gonna win?
Yeah, far out. Jeez, Raina, did you have a sports team growing up, or an athlete, or a sport, or?
My dad would watch a lot of football, but I didn't really get into it. I guess I used to watch F1 with him.
I was going to ask, being Singapore Grand Prix, right? Like, I mean, that must have been, is that just in your backyard? You open your window and there are the cars going past? Or?
Well, if you go to the offices in the city and you stay overnight, you could watch the F1 through there.
Nice.
So yeah, maybe the F1, I guess.
I'm an F1 nut, and I'm telling you, this is like not Netflix F1 nut. I have an F1 tattoo. That's how much I love the sport. But Singapore's not a Grand Prix that I've been to, so it's definitely on the list. So yes, Melbourne every year, but not quite Singapore. If you could be any superhero, who would you be?
I think I would be Thor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. He's God.
Yeah, he'd do all right in artistic swimming. He would have stamina.
Yeah, I think he'd be very strong.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the big green guy?
Hulk?
Why not? Hulk and
Just
Thor in a duet. How would that work out? I don't know how the synchronicity would be there between the pair of them.
I don't know, maybe Iron Man.
But hey,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I like that one.
That works. Do you think that, like, I'm thinking you're doing a Charlie's Angels routine, right? Bring that to the Olympics. If you get the team routine, I don't know if you've worked out your music for that, but if you get a bit of like Thor music potentially out there, maybe you could actually get like Chris Hemsworth to like jump on board and be like, go girls in the artistic. Get a bit viral out there and get the Hemsworths out there on board.
Yeah, we have decided our team routines, but that's a
good idea.
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
it's like, I can be your media manager if you want, but I'm thinking, like it's a case of, yes, you want to go out there and do your best, but if you go a little bit viral at the same time, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Definitely helps.
You're welcome. You are most welcome. Your favorite music artists are?
Ooh.
Elton John.
Oh, didn't even think about that one. I like that.
I mean, the Beatles are good, definitely. And we listen to Lime Cordiale together a lot.
Okay. I'm liking this old school vibe though, when you just go Beatles, Elton John, like great.
Yeah,
Love
we
it.
definitely dabble in the old school vibes.
And I'm also appreciating that you're actually going with legitimate old school and not like, oh, Blink-182, I love old music. Like, I mean, like getting to that point where you get to
success as well.
Trust me, both of you will reach an age where all of a sudden they'll like start listing artists. I'm like, they're not old. Like, what are you talking about? I'm finally reaching that age now, and it's scary. If you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Dumplings.
Oh, yes.
Prepare dumplings in many different ways, I think.
One food. This is so hard.
Is there gelatin in dumplings?
There is some, actually, I think.
There actually might be.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm so put off gelatin now. I'm sorry.
I could have garlic bread all the time.
Oh, yes. Garlic bread. Do you request food in your half an hour lunch break? Can you be like, I want dumplings and garlic bread?
Well, our nutritionist brings us food sometimes. Maybe we should ask her to bring
You
us.
should. I mean, carbs, right? That's got to help you in the pool. Yeah. Can't say that's bad. Otherwise, go to Paris. I'm like in the Olympics, they're going to have everything you've been to the village. You know what it's like. Did you get dumplings and garlic bread in the village in Tokyo?
Definitely got dumplings.
So many dumplings.
Perfect. You need to go to the Winter Olympics in a couple of years in Milan, and that's where you get the garlic bread, right? Like, the Italians. Yes. Your favorite place to compete is?
Ooh. I like an outdoor pool. I know this isn't really a place, but when we competed in Budapest, we were in an outdoor pool and it was a stadium that was built on a river.
Oh,
So
nice.
that was really special. And there was a castle next to it.
Oh,
That was a really special competition in terms
okay.
of stadium.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like to compete in Japan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Japan's good.
Yeah,
Japan's
we've
really good.
done many competitions in Japan, and I like it because afterwards you can stay back for a day or two and just explore whatever province we're in. I think it's just beautiful.
Good answer. We need outdoor pools back at the Olympics. I know Athens had outdoor pools, and that's why we got 7th in the team. So, I mean, you know,
It's the Summer Olympics.
Yeah.
true. Well, having said that, though, Brisbane technically will be a Winter Olympics for Australia. So,
This
you
is
know,
true.
just I'm saying that Australia is hosting our first Winter Olympics in 2032. But let's petition for that outdoor pool, shall we, in Brisbane, right? I don't know if they've decided where the pool's going to be. Your favourite cartoon to watch growing up was?
Oh, SpongeBob?
SpongeBob.
Teen Titans, maybe.
Okay, yes.
I don't know. SpongeBob, like Phineas and Ferb, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Bring
Yeah.
those songs back in training sometimes.
Yeah.
Again, my age shows here when the shows are like, you know. Anyway, if you were to do karaoke, what would you sing?
Oh,
Ooh.
Robin, Proud Mary.
Proud Mary, yeah.
Okay, I like it. Wow.
We like to scream that one.
Yeah.
Is it a bonding? Like, do you
National
guys go karaoke? Is that something you do as a team?
In Japan,
yeah, we
after
went.
we competed,
Yeah, we played the Australian national anthem in the karaoke.
Yeah.
Started off.
Wow. Have you ever heard, was it Adam Hills many years ago in a stand-up routine got the song Working Class Man by Jimmy Barnes and then got the Australian national anthem lyrics and it fits perfectly. So it's
Really?
like, Australians all let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea.
That was good. That was
Oh, our home is girt by sea. It's really clever. Like it's amazing. So I mean, imagine that in Paris. You get the gold medal and you just put out some Barnsey going across the speakers. Like we'd all be for that. It's the first time I've sung on this show in a long time. I apologise, people at home. If you could be an Olympian in any other sport besides your own, what would it be?
We think about this quite a
we
lot.
both say beach volleyball together. That'd be
Okay.
fun.
That'd be
Yeah.
fun. Underneath the Eiffel Tower in Paris, that would work.
Definitely for the
Yeah.
Paris Olympics.
Yeah, and Brisbane, I mean, there's plenty of beaches, right? You got time? We'll swap sports. I'll do artistic swimming. Not that I play beach volleyball. Well, let's say I do. And you can go compete in that in Brisbane.
Yeah. I think that. Sometimes we say a high jump.
Oh, yeah.
If
Yep.
you would say, I'm not.
I say high jump just because I'm tall, but I don't have any other skills that would help
Yeah.
me in that.
Not the jumping part. You might need to learn that, right? To like,
Yeah.
okay. All right. No, I like it. I like hearing that out there. What is one thing that you've both always wanted to do?
Skydiving.
Skydiving?
I was gonna say that.
You can say it too. You can do it like a
Bungee
tandem.
jumping then.
Bungee. All right. Okay. Let's make a day of it. One of you goes bungee, one of you goes skydiving. You ever thought about doing the Amazing Race together? You get to do all these things basically for free, right?
Oh, maybe we should.
I seriously sign me up as your manager.
Yeah.
Let's talk after this, all right? Like I'll give you all these ideas. Now this one, so this questionnaire was given to Patrick Chan, a Canadian skater. So this was for a Winter Olympian. So the question here is your favorite thing to do in the summer. So I'm going to reverse this because you're Summer Olympians, and I'm going to say, what is your favorite thing to do in the winter?
Sit by. I mean, we're not really in a full-blown winter.
True,
very
true.
often.
We don't know what winter is in Australia, whereas Canadians kind of know what winter is.
We went to Canada for a comp last year and
Mm-hmm.
definitely having like a big warm coffee or hot chocolate in a really big jacket or throw snowballs at each other. That was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whereabouts in Canada was this?
This was
Toronto.
Toronto. Okay, nice. And they make you do it in winter?
It was indoors.
It was, yeah, it was
Still,
about,
like-
it was about a year ago in March.
Yeah, it was.
Wow. Okay. Thank
Not
you,
the peak
Toronto.
of their winter, but the peak winter
It was
I've
peak
ever
to
been.
me.
Yeah, for anyone from Australia, usually March in the Northern Hemisphere is about as cold as they will ever get. Your favourite movie is?
Shrek.
Shrek. Yes. Straight away. Oh, Shrek. I love the rivalry here. It's straight away. It's like Shrek 2. Have you thought about doing artistic swimming to Shrek music, like to All Star by like Smash Mouth?
We tried. Don't you? So you were
Why wasn't it accepted?
holding out for a hero duet.
Oh, right. So, but why was it denied, or like did the coach not like it? Like what happened there?
It was denied. Yeah.
Who denies Shrek? Like, what is wrong with somebody to deny Shrek? I'm telling you now, when I bribe these people in Brisbane, Shrek, everybody, you're going to be wearing Shrek outfits, all right?
It would be amazing. Shrek Crocs.
Yeah, exactly. Half our national colour is Shrek colour. Like, it's maybe a lighter green than we're used to, but come on, don't ban Shrek. That's bullshit. Your favourite place, this is, again, favourite place to visit in Canada, but let's go with your favourite place to visit in Australia is...
I would say Sydney.
Yeah, definitely Sydney. Definitely Sydney.
You sound like you're thinking about that. You're like, Sydney's great.
I mean, the Great Barrier Reef's pretty cool in Australia. I mean, somewhere just like anywhere in Australia, just like isolated and a beach and, you know, a cocktail at the beach. It's great.
Have you been to Tasmania
Hayman
before?
Island, perhaps.
I haven't been to Tasmania before, actually.
We haven't been to Tasmania, but
Look,
I don't know if there's any
It is on
teams
the
there.
list that I want to go.
It's not, you know, the most happening place in the world, having said that I'm from there. But recently people want to go there. So, you know, I'm sure if you like mountains and fresh air, not many beaches. I don't know why this is ending on a weird point. Let's bring up Shrek again. Let's get that up there. Kiera Rayna, before I let you go, people want to follow your journeys between now and Paris. Tag your social medias, your TikToks, whatever it is. Like, where can people follow you individually? And I mean, do you have a team? Like, is there a, do you have a duet Instagram page or something yet?
We have a team Instagram page called Artistic Swimming Oz.
Yep.
That's where most of the team updates go. And my personal Instagram's Rayna Buckle and
Kiera.g_.
Kiera.g_. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. No TikToks? Any TikToks?
No, we don't dabble in TikTok.
Okay. Well, we do. We're cool on this show. So
We're cool enough for TikTok.
when you log on to the TikTok, I sound so in with it, don't I? You can follow off the podium. Kiera Rayna, this has been so much fun to learn about your journeys of sport. I always love learning so much about artistic swimming. Seriously, I'm a massive, massive fan. And best of luck between now and Paris. We know you're on the plane. Let's just say it. You're there. And congratulations for all the medals you'll win there. It'll be fantastic. But it's been a lot of fun. And please bring Shrek to a routine soon.
Yeah, we'll work on that one for you. Thank you for having us.
thank you.